Scarred by Emily Gardner. He was frightened, I was clueless, and we were both forever scared of the world around us. I promised myself I would never relive this moment, but I have to get it off my chest until somebody would happen. It was a beautiful spring morning. "Good morning," I exclaimed tiredly as I arrived in the kitchen when my daughter Hallie groaned dreadfully, having to go to the store to get breakfast for the family. "Morning, Dad," she replied. At that moment, my wife Jennifer joined the sleepy squad. None of us were really awake, more like talking zombies, still exhausted and definitely not morning people. "I'll get it," I stuttered. Well, of course, Hallie was relieved. So, we all said our goodbyes, and off I went into the experience of my life, and not in a good way. "Watch out!" they screamed as the unthinkable happened right in front of my eyes, as I couldn't do anything to stop it. Honk, honk! Then silence, the kind of silence that pierces your ears when all anyone can even think of is what in the name of God just happened. Then I heard the screams, saw the blood, and watched the truck that hit the innocent family drive away with a messed up bumper and a dent in its side. I got out of my car as soon as my shock and confusion wore off. My brain could once again function, just a little. The car had hit the side of the truck, skirt, flipping into a ditch, thud, thump, crashing into a telephone pole. Then, to top the cake off, down came the telephone pole, swoosh, kablow. I rushed over and heard two voices. A man's voice, I could only assume was the father of the other voice, which was a young man, very panicky in the back of the car. The man was struggling to take breath after a very hard airbag to the chest and his entire body hanging upside down out of the car. He managed to spit out, "Help him, I'm hopeless. Leave me alone. Save the..." That was the last breath that young father ever let out, and it was right in front of my eyes. I had already called 911 in the panic of the crash, so I crept to the back of the car to find a clueless, frightened, and panicking 6 or 7-year-old boy who had no recollection of the event that had just occurred only moments before. I knew my next move was critical. If he found out or saw his father that way, he would be scarred for life. I found 2 blankets. I gave one to the kid and told him to cover his eyes, as he hesitantly obeyed, while the child's eyes were closed. I covered the now deceased man, so the child had no way to ever see what had happened. "You can take down the blanket," I spoke softly to the child, but got no response. He did, however, take the blanket off his face very slowly and shaking, only to uncover blood smeared across his face. Everything went through my mind, but on the surface, I looked calm and ready. I dealt with this incident, in my mind at least, a bajillion times. If someone gets hurt, what do I do? First of all, I asked him where he was hurt. So he showed me the back of his arm was cut wide open with a bone hanging out the back. I almost lost it. My stomach is strong, but not that strong. I told him to let it sit and not to move it. I talked to him, trying to distract him from his arm by talking to him very slowly and asking him questions that he had to think about so his mind didn't really wander. I slowly unbuckled him from his sideways car seat. I sat him in my lap and held him close, blanket wrapped around him. Suddenly, I spotted the ambulance, police, search and rescue team, every other authority you could think of. Whenever I knew the boy was in good hands, I went home to my own family. To this day, that is the worst thing that's ever happened in my life.